Hey everyone, Catch 'em All Collectibles here with a video I teased at the end of the last podcast with Nick. Not sure what I'm going to come up with for a title for it, but as you should be able to tell from the title, I recently quit my job to sell Pokemon cards full time. It's pretty fresh. It's been about a week that I've been doing this full time, a busy week with other things, so I haven't even really gotten into the swing of it, but there's a lot of reasons I went ahead with this. I'll talk about some of those, and I'll talk a little bit about my thoughts on the Pokemon market as a whole and kind of what doing this full time will mean when it comes to this channel and the way I interact with the hobby, how I run my business and such. So yeah, I mentioned I quit for several reasons. I won't get into all of them, but the main one being I'm in a pretty good spot. 2020 was a crazy year. I've not based this decision off replicating 2020 or even this year. The market, as most people will know, is way outside any normal expectations as far as modern product and the margins that can be made immediately selling it to the market. I've been in the hobby 7 years, so I'm very familiar with what booster boxes kind of should look like, where you can't profitably sell them immediately on eBay. But yeah, the grading situation is crazy too. 2 to 7 years ago, you could grade a card, and a long turnaround time might be a few months. You could spend under $10 a card. So really going into this in a really strange market, but kind of an exciting one, I think, too. I've got 10,000 cards in various backlogs between PSA and CGC, and I've been in a relationship with distributors for several years. So I've got not huge allocations, but I've got decent allocations for modern product that I've been involved in for some time. But yeah, I'll probably be a little bit all over the place in this video. I've got some notes I'm glancing over here to my left, but yeah, the freedom that being your own boss can provide is very enticing to me. I'm relatively young, early 30s. I've got a lot of life ahead of me, and the kind of the normal thing that people do, selling their time to an employer until they're 65 or older, really never seemed too exciting to me. Never really felt like it was going to be something that I'd do. I've always been quite a bit of a saver. So 10 years in the corporate world, I saved a large portion of my salary. For the past 7 years, I've done Pokemon on the side, but prior to that, I sold other various things: video games, coins, beer steins, and collectibles. So I've got about a little over a decade of experience in the reselling business, and I'm gonna bring that to center stage. And it's always been done on the side, never given it a real shot to see what I could do with 40, 50, 60 hours a week entirely devoted to this. So I'm going to go for that now. I had some podcasts I was in late last year. Anyone who saw me speak with John, Pokemon Radar, and Jake, Pokenomics, I kind of mentioned in both of those that in 2020, I sold off a lot on the way up to the highs and at the highs and down since of my personal collection and some of my longer term inventory I hadn't intended to keep. And what I sold afforded me a lot more financial stability. I was able to pay off my house and get completely out of debt and get a really good kind of a nest egg saved up for, I guess, for if this doesn't go as well as I intend to make it go. So yeah, I'm leaving the normal 9 to 5 type job scenario with no need to pull a paycheck from this for any time in the short term. So I've got a really good situation that I've set myself into to give myself a real shot at this. I think a lot of people probably heard the statistics, 80% of businesses fail within however many years it is, but not having to rely on it for a paycheck off the bat the first few years especially can be something that really boosts your chances, I think. So I'm going into this with a pretty good shot, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and a pretty solid collection I've built up over the years. I say collection, but it's also inventory. I mean, a good inventory base to leverage and flip to provide more capital to operate the business. So yeah, one big thing that ties people to their jobs where I'm from in the US is healthcare. Thankfully, my wife, she has a stable job that provides health insurance for the family. So that's one of the big needs that you'd be lacking on your own, kind of covered through there. And I guess that kind of gives you a little bit of the thoughts around why I left. And yeah, I didn't get into one thing about being your own boss too and setting your own schedule. It affords yourself a lot more freedom setting your own schedule. If you wake up one day, roll out of bed, don't really feel like going to work, you don't really have to. You can't get too you got to be careful with that. You obviously, another thing about days that you take off, there's really no paid vacation time, no paid sick time. When you're working and making money, you're making money. When you're not working, you're not making money. So I think a really nice thing about good and bad, when you win, when you have wins, they are directly affecting you fully proportionally to the wins. I mean, if you make $10,000, you get the $10,000. When you have losses, the same thing goes though. You can screw up at your company job, and sure, you may lose your job. If you lose them, hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars with a mishap, but you're also not losing that directly to yourself. So running your own business, definitely a lot of interesting considerations compared to a standard job. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the freedom of setting my own schedule. My wife's actually a teacher, so she gets summers off and quite a reasonable holiday schedule. So to be able to take off some of the holidays, postal holidays, school holidays, and spend a little bit more time with the family over the summer, that's something I really look forward to. As far as how this whole thing will affect my YouTube. So YouTube, I started about 4 months ago, and I mentioned I quit my job only a week ago. I've been getting very little sleep to keep up the YouTube schedule. I've surprised myself how well I've stuck with it. What I try to do is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 videos a week, except for podcast week, which is every other. That week I just do Monday and then the podcast Thursday. So I don't intend to do more on YouTube. What I hope to do is just be able to bring you more quality. You can see right now, right here, I'm talking into my laptop. The default speaker, the built-in speaker, the built-in camera, lighting is terrible. I'm gonna plan on building out an office space and hopefully really improving the lighting, the video quality, and the audio quality at some point. I need to learn how to, I'm not going to do anything crazy, but edit videos, do some overlaid pictures, and I need to work on learning that, because right now I'm using the default Windows video editor, which doesn't allow for anything. And I record my video graded card returns on my Galaxy S8, which is a few-year-old cell phone, and it's always rotated 90 degrees, and Windows Video Editor, just to rotate it 90 degrees, then it takes 30 minutes to process the new video. It's not an ideal situation. So I'm gonna work on getting that all a little bit better for you, for hopefully a little bit better of a viewing experience. Another thing business-wise, as I mentioned, I've always done this on the side. I've really been limited in what I can buy, what I can go after, what I can pursue. I've nothing like PSA, but I've built myself quite a backlog over the past 7 years, and I intend to get through everything that I have. Anyone who's been watching my videos knows that I'm utilizing Troll and Toad, sending a bunch of stuff to them. So I plan to continue sending stuff to them. I do plan to get onto TCG Player at some point, or at least looking into it. If it makes sense, I'll get on it. But yeah, my eBay store could really use a refresh too. I have generic descriptions that are too long and wordy. They talk about sales tax that I used to have to charge to New York residents, and eBay collects all that now. So I really need to go through, work on my eBay descriptions and my store overall. I did mention that I have 5,000 cards at PSA and CGC. So I have, unfortunately, I can't send in much more new. To CGC I can, PSA, only the really high-end stuff, but I do have a steady stream of graded card returns coming to fill the store, but I also will be looking into buying a lot more lots. The recent PSA graded set that I bought at auction, the base set first edition that I'm doing a little video series on, that's the kind of lot that I love to buy. And over the past few years, I just haven't been able to, having a job, having kids, and with this being kind of a side thing, it really got pushed way to the side, but now I can kind of bring it a little more front and center and devote some more time to having a bigger inventory and going after more flips. So I do have some other plans. In the title, it's going to be something like I quit my job to sell Pokemon full time. And for the short term, next 1 to 2 years, I do intend for it to be at least 90% of my time devoted to this. But I've got longer term, doing my own thing. It gives me more ability to kind of try new things too. Getting back into selling coins is probably something that'll happen down the line, but I'm trying to really stick with Pokemon only for at least a year to give it a good shot and see where it goes. But there are some longer term 5 and 10 year time horizon, different types of businesses I might set up or other income streams I might try to generate and establish. So I think this video ended up being quite a bit longer than I know it was going to be, but they almost all do. I think I covered everything on my notes over here, but as I mentioned in the past, anybody who stuck around 2 hours through our last podcast, I teased this video, and then I also teased that we're going to have a special guest for our next podcast. This video will be going live on, should be August 2nd. The following Thursday, August 12th, I believe, we'll have our 11th podcast going live. We do have a special guest, and the topic of it will be quitting your job to sell Pokemon cards full time, because Nick and now myself have both done it, and our guest has fairly recently done it as well. So we have had James ZNG as a guest earlier this year. It's not him again, even though he also did quit his job to do Pokemon full time. So it's someone else who did, who you may be familiar with. But I'm excited for that conversation. And one thing I'm gonna use my time in the podcast is to ask them, hey, if you could go back and speak to yourself the week that you quit your job or the week after you quit your job, what advice would you have to give, and what would you have to say, and any tips or tricks, or would you tell yourself to go back and not quit your job? And I think it'll make for an interesting conversation. But anyways, I've gone on long enough. I'm really excited for what the future will hold. And with this YouTube channel, I plan to bring you through every stage and every kind of aspect of my interaction with the hobby. something I haven't really had the time to do yet too is show you a bit more of my collection. So the way I see my collection, I don't really like a lot of collectors, the true collectors, I think, they plan to die with their collection. They plan to leave it to someone else. I love a lot of cards in my collection, and there are a lot of them that you may see that aren't listed anywhere. I don't really intend to sell anytime soon, but I do view all of my cards except for maybe except for definitely my childhood binder, because they're just not worth that much. Well loved, well played, and they're worth way more to me than the market values them. But all my other cards, aside from that base through fossil binder, I really view as inventory, and if and when the time comes that the proceeds from the sale would benefit me, my family, my business more than keeping the card. I mean, everything is for sale for the right price. So that's something that I'm definitely going to have to consider more, being that this is my primary income source, and maybe I'll part ways with some cards I had a longer time horizon on, just to de-risk a little bit, because a lot of my eggs are in this Pokemon basket now that my paycheck will be coming from it too. But yeah, anyways, I appreciate everyone who's stuck around for this video, and I will catch you all later.